What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Asia. And for today's episode, we are going to jump right on in to what the heck is going on with Donald Trump and this administration and Venezuela. Now, I got a lot to say about what the heck is going on there. I'm kind of a purist when it comes to my country, and I'm not really happy to see what's happening with what this administration is doing with Venezuela. I'm not very happy with the I guess best way to put it is a particular group of people in this country who are not necessarily just celebrating it, but are so overjoyed because they themselves feel like they've been liberated. And I want you guys to connect these dots. And now, usually, I have a much clear, concise, open, and sometimes I even make that announcement that I'm not, AI, blah blah blah. And yeah, okay. For those of you who know who understand that I'm not, awesome. For those of you who don't, I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm not really in the mood to offer that disclaimer again for today because I'm really upset about what I'm seeing with Venezuela. And for those of you who say that it's okay to be in support of what the administration has done in regards to Maduro, to some degree you are correct. It is okay to be happy about watching a narco terrorist go down and to see some accountability if we do. This may be the one time where there is a corrupt leader that goes down for his crimes. It's just so unfortunate that it's not here in America. That is an episode for another day. For today, we're going to go into how this action, and not just the most on the left are saying kidnapping of Maduro, apprehension, for lack of better, for my, I prefer to say, of Maduro. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this few month long war that we saw. And honestly, can you really call it a war if the other side didn't really land a hit on you? So I don't know what the heck you even call this. Military op, for I guess, is the best way to put it, because the enemy clearly did not fight back, at least not the way we're used to seeing it with military combat. If you ask me, it's just, it doesn't look like war. It didn't. But let me not go on a rant. You guys know you have to kind of follow my train of thought here, because I rift, even though these things are planned and not necessarily what I say, but I try to prepare so that way it in a way doesn't sound all over the place. But at the same time, follow my train of thought, because we are going to cover many different elements about this, because right now there is a lot. There is a lot. January 3rd, our government launched the illest airstrike on Venezuela. I mean, we all saw that cloud. It looked like smoke was coming from hell itself, if you ask me. That explosion we were seeing online on Twitter and on YouTube and all these other places, it was a devastating blow in Venezuela on January 3rd. Simultaneously, we are arresting or apprehending Maduro. And, I'm hearing people say, whether it be Ana Navarro, whether I'm hearing it be Trish Reagan, that Americans voted for this, that this is what MAGA wants. That's short sighted. It's short sighted. And to be quite frank, I'm kind of surprised by Trish Reagan and her celebrating this move, especially because I've seen her commentary on these decisions where she is very much informed that this is not just about, liberating the Venezuelan people from tyranny. It's not about that. That this is about the resources. I'm glad she at minimum admitted that it is about taking the resources, or that it's about the resources. I don't know if it's naivete or she just really believes that Trump is the good guy here, that the administration is the good guy. It's not. Now, I love Trump. I do. But I don't trust him. And I don't trust this administration. Past this prologue, this is going to be just another empirical attempt to be empirical and to take over that region, which Trump pretty much admitted to. that the United States government controls and runs Venezuela. Wait, what? So one minute we're all excited and so ecstatic to see Maduro get arrested. Like, oh my gosh, we're seeing this terrible narco terrorist go down for his crimes. He didn't just kill himself like Baghdad. We didn't just hear about them, some secret op shooting him dead like we heard about bin Laden. We're actually going to see a terrorist go down for his crimes. That's going to be remarkable. And then, literally, right after that, we're hearing that we are taking over Venezuela. I mean, this is why people are celebrating it. Seeing reactions from independent podcasters, like I believe the show is called Breaking Point. I believe that's what it's called. And they were pretty much pointing out that there were so-called hypocrites looking at Nick Fuentes about how when we saw Maduro get arrested, he puts out a post with the USA flag. And then right after Trump says what he says, he's pretty much saying like, whoa, 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 what do you mean US is taking over Venezuela? We don't believe in nation building as the so-called MAGA or America First specifically. We do not believe in nation building unless it's our country, nowhere else in the world. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in regime change. We are for law and order. So you go get the SOB. Go get him. Go arrest him. If he resists, well, he's choosing death, and we're obligated to give that to our enemies if that's what they choose. But that doesn't give you the right to take over the country. And that's how America First is feeling. Hence that duality. Couldn't stand that they were calling Nick Fuentes a hypocrite for that because it's not hypocritical. It makes us consistent as America First. We want to see the bad guys go down. But don't use it as a precursor to taking over the country and then expect America First to fall in line. I'm so upset about this. How many so-called temporary interventions do we need to see happen before they just admit to us that this is meant to be permanent? You want the US to fully control Venezuela. Now, I do agree. And I do agree that the United States needs to remain the biggest superpower on the Western Hemisphere. I do believe that it's the United States' responsibility to protect this hemisphere from outsiders from the East. I do agree with that. But one doesn't have to take over the entire region to do that, especially not with all this technological advancement, especially not with the most so-called elite military on the face of the earth. There's no reason to take over Venezuela. None. Can't believe he said that. The very next day, he says, U.S. will run Venezuela. Temporarily, he says. What? Why are you running it at all? His math isn't mathing, I swear. It's just like, really think about this. You and Biden. It's not even just like it was the Trump administration, too. Trump administration today and the Biden administration just a year ago said that they don't acknowledge the Maduro regime as the legitimate president of the United States. Okay, so you're going to hand over power to his VP, who you all said was illegitimate? Why are you letting her run this country? We know who won. It's none of these people. There's an actual candidate that won in Venezuela that the people actually voted for. There's no reason for you to take over. Put in place the legitimate president who actually won. You don't even have to put her in, you don't have to put the person in place. You're not installing them. They actually won their election. So why don't you just let their democracy play out? You would have removed the criminal that has been stealing their elections for God knows how long, and you would have given the Venezuelan people the opportunity to finally have the opportunity to choose their leaders. What? Why can't we do that? That sounds like American principles to me, and you would have been awarded them that without having to take over the country. And because we were the ones who helped liberate them from such tyranny, we get first dibs on any of the resources you have. I mean, come on, Mr. Art of the Deal. Why was that not on the table? Why was that not an option? Why are we running Venezuela? Because instantly, I go from being excited to seeing a narco-terrorist getting arrested, who was the head of the nation. Get arrested. That's a big deal. To less than 48 hours later, the man who gets all of this praise for taking down this narco terrorist and aka a president of a nation, a president because he's, illegitimate. You say you're taking over that country. How are you any better? Venezuelan people did not choose the US president. They did not choose us to govern them. And if we're the people who believe that it is the sovereign who choose their leaders, if the goal was to liberate them so that way they can enjoy the benefits of being a sovereign individual, and sovereign not in the way that we hear these people on those terrible court shows, but like the philosophy behind and the ideology behind being a sovereign nation, that it is the sovereign people who choose who will govern. The Venezuelan people did not vote for America to lead their country. Honestly, when he talked about going into war, I knew what this was about. I said it in an episode a couple of weeks back before the new year, before Christmas. Pretty sure I said this in episodes a while back when I started seeing the first few bombings happen on the drug boats. And I even said then I'm kind of torn because I know that we've classified them as narco terrorists, and I agree with that classification. But can we, I told you guys about how torn I was about that. And here I am, torn again. And here's the thing, right? Because it's not that we're torn on the fact that Maduro got arrested. That's not the thing that's tearing us apart. That's making us take a second glance and really think about what's happening here, what the administration is doing with Venezuela. It's not Maduro's arrest. It's the fact that we're running their country. What? Like Maduro is a POS. He's scum. He is scum. And I don't see anybody crying when this man is put to death and he's pushing daisies the next day. None of us are going to cry over it. But that is no justification for taking over somebody else's country. I mean, that is so un American. Didn't we fight against this when we became a nation? Wasn't the whole point to be independent? Hello. Who the hell are we moving in taking their country from them? And that's just it's so un-American. This is just another attempt to just build up help the big corporations and to help big banks. This is another bankers war. That's what it is, if you can call it that. If you really look at the narco terrorists and and how many decades they've been poisoning us, it was a war that we weren't fighting. So then yeah, you can classify it as a war. And finally, we just got the last blow. We got sick of not fighting. We stopped being a pacifist and we finally knocked the B word out. That's how we felt. That's how you can classify it. I would. Narco terrorists have been killing Americans for decades in this country, smuggling their poison across the border, killing young people. I mean, we all remember that. All of these trials all these hearings that we were seeing of individual citizens going before Congress. And we saw Jim Jordan in New York talking to families about how there was a lot of crime happening in the country, about how all these fentanyl drugs, all this poisoning that was happening. We were seeing it. American crime isn't American crime. Corner stores are getting robbed by men holding machetes. This isn't American. Yeah, so I can totally am glad to see these narco terrorists starting to go down. But there's got to be a line, man. We can't just be what our enemies were. We fought against this in the American Revolution. Granted, that is a simple way of putting it. I know that the American Revolution is far more complex than how I'm putting it right now, but it does boil that to that idea, doesn't it though? That we wanted our independence from this great empire. And here we are imposing our will, and I put that in air quotes because our is not we the people, our is the military industrial complex, who I believe really are governing not just America, but all of the West. And they want the resources. This is about corporate winners. and the same damage to we, the American people. And that just brings me to this rift that we're seeing in MAGA get even bigger. And Trump's causing it. And let's call a spade. Like, he can go ahead and he can say, MAGA is me. And like, you can do all of that, Trump. We're over the MAGA train. We hopped off that train a while ago. A while ago, we hopped off. But what I'm seeing on X, this is like a 60-40 split. That is a huge split right there. We're all happy. Maduro's gone. Dealt with. But don't tell us that you're going to take over and then and think we're going to be happy. You got Ted Cruz, another one, celebrating the decision. And they're hiding their intent behind the arrest of Maduro. You see, now the action can be celebrated, but your motives are what's up for judgment here. And when you got people like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz celebrating this and then trying to say thank you to our troops. Yeah, we love our military too. We love our troops too. But to take over this country does mean boots on the ground. It does mean you have to send American soldiers in there. And for what? To procure to secure the oil and other resources? As if America can't figure this out on its own? The art of the deal, King can't figure out how to negotiate with the legitimate president who they elected? For a man who ran around for 4 years talking about how an election was stolen from him to do this? Well, what the heck do you think this is? And I believed him. I agreed with him. I saw evidence of foul play in our election in 2020. I saw it. And now here you are stealing the vote of the Venezuelan people. What? But this is good for America. No, it makes you a hypocrite. You are becoming our enemy to take down our adversaries. But then we're already losing. I'm so sick of people. I'm so sick of our government in the Trump administration justifying them acting like our enemies to win. I'm sick of it. Now, there are some in Congress, thank the Lord. Marjorie Taylor Greene, obviously her last day. They said her last day would be the 6th, so that would be today, or her full final day was the 5th. But I think, today was officially her last day. But MTG, you have Massey, all telling them like this is a problem. This is a problem. That this is just a deviation from domestic policy. That honestly, he's making these decisions for the big banks, for the oil companies, for all of these corporations who are already lining up to build business in Venezuela. And with the United States government controlling Venezuela, who's going to stop anybody? You see Americans right now pushing back against the AI data centers. How are they going to be able to push back in Venezuela? They don't even have the same amount of authority or power that Americans have. At least we got our Second Amendment. At least we got our guns. I don't know what the heck these Venezuelans are going to do. I'm so sick of these people. And this is where I agree with Nick on this. I totally agree with Nick Fuentes on this one. This is not America first. It isn't. It's nation building. It's imperialism. It is not what America first is about. It's just not. Like, for real, when did America first start to mean America runs everything on the Western Hemisphere? Should it be bigger and badder than everybody on the Western Hemisphere? You damn straight it should be. We should be. We should have more power. We should have more control over this entire hemisphere as it relates to anything from the East coming in. I totally agree. I'm like, blockade. You want something to come into this side of on this side of the planet, you will go through America. I totally agree with that. But does that mean we take over everything south of our border? No. You take out our enemies. That's why we applaud you arresting Maduro. I'm waiting for him to move into Mexico and do the same thing with them. Why aren't you bombing the cartels in Mexico? dropping airstrikes in Mexico. I'm all for that. You want to wipe out all of the narco terrorists on the Western Hemisphere? Have at it. I am not even going to sit here and say don't do that. But don't do it and then take over, because that's what everyone was concerned about when he started bombing these people, started bombing these narco terrorists on their boats in the first place. It wasn't because we were sympathetic for the bombers. Now, don't get me wrong. I do lean a little bit with some Christian empathy and grace. If they survive the first bombing and they're limping home, let them limp home. That's how I feel. I feel like you should. That's them. That's you giving them the opportunity to change, right? That's us as Christians showing grace. I really had an issue with him overdoing it, dropping a bomb when they were trying to head back home. That I did have some issues with. But the initial bombing, heck no. Them working with China and Russia, dead in the water, pun intended, blockade. You're not coming here. We will treat everything trying to come into the into the South and South America. We will treat it like everything coming across, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, cross this line. We have problems. I'm all for that. But that is no justification for imperialism. Why are we investing so much of our money and time and resources in Venezuela? Now, luckily for us, our borders are closed. I mean, it's one good thing that Trump has done, right? I mean, I can't complain about that. He's secured our border. That's awesome sauce. That's great. But this actually brings me to my comment at the beginning. And I'm sorry if I am all over the place, but I am upset. And this is making me feel just like Nick right now. I want America to be such a purist country at this point. I'm so mad. How many Venezuelan Americans celebrated? You would have thought they were the ones in tyranny, running around America with their flag wrapped around them. Go home. Now you don't have a reason to run. Go home. Go home. You're celebrating that America is governing, has pretty much owns your nation. Well, now that your nation's under the jurisdiction of America, you can go home now. Get out. Get out of my country. I don't care how that sounds. I don't care if it sounds xenophobic. I want America to go back to what it was from the jump. Blacks, whites, Native Americans. We were the majority. Go home now. I don't want to see another freaking flag in my country. I don't want to see another damn flag. I don't care about what the heck is happening around the rest of the world. If there's a woe is me, deal with it. Don't ask us. You ask us, then we have, the so-called king of art of the deal. But he's not making deals anymore. He's just taking territory. And we got these immigrants and descendants of these immigrants living in our country, and they're running around in South Florida and all around the country wearing their damn flags. Go home, get out. I'm over this crap. I'm tired of seeing that crap on YouTube and Twitter. Like, are you kidding me? When Ana Navarro on The View, and I was so sure, I'm like, is this gonna be the thing that makes her not hate Trump so much? And I hate that I can agree with her, because she's right. Two things can be true. Now, I disagree with her on the so-called second thing that's true, because yes, it's true that we're all happy that Maduro has been taken down, that he's been arrested. We're seeing some accountability there. That's going to be awesome sauce. I'm excited for that. But I do disagree with her when she says, oh, it's how it was done. No, we were for the airstrikes. We were for bombing the narco-terrorists and their bases and wherever they're storing the fentanyl and their weapons. We're all for that. We were all for them sending in, some soldiers to go arrest, to go apprehend him. Totally disagreed with Ana Navarro on that. I totally did. But when she started to run down the amount of Hispanic immigrant communities in America and how excited they were and how happy they were to see this, to see some accountability, I'm like, okay, so that's something we have in common, to actually see such a powerful man be held accountable. It just sucks that it's not the American elite that we're seeing go down. And the only reason why it's able to happen to Maduro is because he's standing in the way of the military-industrial complex taking over the region. This is a problem. I'm so sick of seeing those. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing everybody else's flag in my country. I'm over it. I just want blacks, the descendants of slaves, whites, descendants of European settlers, and Native Americans, the OGs. That's it. And I know that people are going to say, well, Asia, aren't you black, Hispanic, and aren't you this, aren't you that? Yes, I am. I am. And I understand how that comes off hypocritical. And I have no excuse for it. I have no justification for it. But after all of this, my country is taking over another country. And it does beg the question, if we weren't so imperialistic, would we have the military industrial complex the way that we have in our country? Would we even have it? Would we have a bunch of Hispanics running around here all excited? A bunch of Cubans and Venezuelans and Ecuadorians that are living here and their children all excited to see Maduro go down? Because, oh, he's a dictator and he's an SOB who's murdered his people. You're right that he needed to go down. Totally agree with you. The Venezuelan people needed help to do that. Okay. And as a nation that is Christian, not Judeo, but Christian, we will do that for you. We will help you. In return, you will give us first dibs on resources. We will buy them from you. Not just steal it, not take it, but we will buy. And then you use that money to revitalize your economy. If you need assistance with infrastructure, you can get a discounted rate for American enterprise or industry to come in and help you build. That's that. But you will pay us at a discounted rate to do that. We will hire any Venezuelan who has the skill set. You're not coming in America to be trained. We're not doing that. No, you don't come to our universities. No. They will get trained there at home. See, but now why couldn't Trump come up with those ideas? No, we got to take over. And all these immigrants running around here all excited. When they were excited, now they're angry with him. I'm not surprised. Because wait. We're grateful that you took out Maduro, but you're taking over our country. What did they think was going to happen when the United States gets involved? I mean, didn't the prime minister or president of Taiwan, whatever the hell her title is, she said that we want America's help and we want to work with America, but America can't come in here thinking that they're going to own us. That's what she said to the United States government, because she knows how the United States does business. We offer aid, but then we want control. I mean, really ask yourself. I mean, if this nation was still for the builders and its slaves once freed, and the Native Americans whose land was taken, and then we all learned to coexist, would we give a damn about Venezuela? Probably not. Probably not. And I don't want to hear that it's all about oil. I don't want to hear that we need the resources. Yes, that's important. But you don't come out. You don't send someone from your cabinet and in the energy department to come out on Fox News and say that they have already started deploying nuclear reactor modules in the military. They already have some units deployed already. So you're telling me that you found a way to diversify the energy supply for the military, which is usually where all the stuff starts. AI didn't start in the private sector amongst us civilians. It started with the United States military. The internet most likely started within our military, and then it was deployed amongst the private sector, amongst the civilians. You're telling me you can't do this with nuclear and diversify our energy supply? You can still buy the oil from Venezuela. This would be fair. This would be fair. And honestly, I think if this were a nation built by, a nation just for the OGs, That is a possibility. That hypothetical is possible, very likely. But because we're not, and past this prologue, I'm questioning the motives. I'm questioning the motive. Because if this was about truth and justice and liberty for the Venezuelan people and securing the Western Hemisphere from our enemies and building allies and better relationships and not imperialism, then he would let the woman or person who won their actual presidency govern. This isn't one of those where you have to install somebody that you like. There was literally a person who won and it was stolen from them. This isn't the first time this has happened. We all remember when President Trump, when he was still in office and he acknowledged Guaido as the real president of, I believe it was Venezuela. It wasn't Ecuador or El Salvador. Was it that El Salvador? I can't remember. One of these South American countries, Trump has a habit of selecting the person that the people actually voted for. They kept saying, oh, well, that was him trying regime change the first time. No, that was him acknowledging the real winner. That was him doing that. But you're going to go ahead and let the illegitimate vice president of Venezuela run everything? Something's fishy here. How is it that the man who ran around bitching and moaning about how the election was stolen from him let the woman who's vice president to an illegitimate presidency run Venezuela? The math don't math. It's not making sense. This so-called, we're going to liberate you like we tried in the Middle East. Okay, so this wasn't a war that lasted for 20 years, but it's the same motive. You want the energy, you want the control. This is not about we the people, and you're trying to get us to come on board with it. We're not for the sugar honey iced teas. We're not buying this crap. A lot of us are either in red alert or yellow alert. We're excited to see Maduro go down, but we're questioning the motives. Look at what happened in the stock market. All of these things are starting to go up now. Everything related to oil is going up now. Didn't see much happen with the tech stocks, but I would assume that's going to be not long from now. If once we hear that Grok or OpenAI is opening up a data center in Venezuela, they got really good, temperature control to some degree. As long as you're not by the water anyway. Hurricane season is a problem. This is a hot mess. I'm not for the sugar honey iced teas, and neither is 60% of America first. And honestly, I think that number is a lot higher. I think X is being a little bit too conservative. Grok AI is being a bit conservative on that number. I think that is actually way more, especially if you're not just on X and you're on other social media platforms and you're seeing what the reaction is. This isn't to say that there isn't a need to keep our eye out on what's happening south of our border. Because I do believe that America needs to have majority of the power on this side of the planet. I think that's important. But we cannot become our enemies to secure that kind of power. We cannot be that. I'm so sick of our nation being so imperialistic. I'm so tired of this. I'm telling you, I believe that this was just another military industrial op. And though there was a result that we, the people, can get behind, like arresting a narco-terrorist and his wife, who I believe is also a narco-terrorist, calling her the wife just makes her seem, obviously they're both human, but if these people lacked humanity, you really can't see them as that. So yeah, you arrested two narco-terrorists. It is an outcome that we can get behind. What we don't get behind is you taking over the country. This is an occupation of another nation, especially if he sends in foot soldiers. You got the narco-terrorists. You can tell this VP, you're not the VP. The people voted for who they voted for, and we will back them. The same way we had the allies with the French when we were fighting against the British. The French helped us secure our nation, our independence from Britain. We would be France or the French to the Venezuelans in this analogy. We would be France. Backing the 13 colonies, who would be Venezuela? And the regime that they're up against is within their own nation. That would be Maduro and his VP pick. This is all for the resources. It's all for power, not liberty. And we know this. We're not stupid. That was the Iraq War. Now, that's not to say that every conflict we get into is the Iraq War, but if you expect us to think that this isn't about regime change, that this isn't about procuring all of the resources for ourselves, come on. You think we're stupid. They think we are dumb. They think that we just can't see what we know. Like, you don't. Trump only won because people became aware. You don't ask that genie. You can't put that genie back in that bottle. We're aware now. Now we are educated. Now we are informed. Now we know what our own government is guilty of. And you want us to back this play? No. I'm telling you right now, yo. I'm telling you, Tulsi Gabbard is the only person that I'm looking at right now in this whole cabinet that is looking like my personal pick for president in 2028 when it's time to vote. Because her position on regime change has not changed. She hasn't spoken out against the administration, but she's got a job to do, so I don't have time to share my opinions. I got a job to do, and I appreciate that. But honestly, she's the only one that I'm looking at. She's the only one, because all the other ones in his cabinet, when they go out there and they're in front of the public eye, I'm seeing that, oh, this wasn't starting a war. This wasn't a war tactic. This was an arrest. This was an arrest. You went into another country and took their president. What do you mean this isn't, you throwing up the red flag like I declare war? Not necessarily I declare war, because only Congress has the power to declare war officially, but I'm very upset about this. Because as happy as I am that Maduro is being dealt with, I'm upset on two accounts. That my nation's government is yet again acting out its authority and, its power of imperialism. So close to home, actually. It's annoying that we will run Venezuela temporarily, he says. Hogwash. You're not going to be in office forever. What do you think? That they're just going to walk out after you're not the president anymore, Trump? Because let's assume Trump has good motives. Do you really think that those motives are that of the military-industrial complex? They've been wanting in Venezuela for mad long. They've wanted to control it for mad long. You were just the guy who let that happen. You're just the guy to let that happen. And manipulated we the people because he knew we wanted accountability to see elites go down. And here's an example of that. And they used that as the precursor to take control of another country, which brings me to the second thing that I'm infuriated about this specific thing. You're going to send in the military to go arrest a narco-terrorist and to go arrest an elitist criminal in another country. And no American elite has gone to jail, has been prosecuted for any of their crimes. You're protecting people related to the Jeffrey Epstein situation. We see Zionists trying to censor all Americans, leveraging technology to do such thing, trying to criminalize speech when the thing that should be criminalized is their attempt to criminalize my speech. These elitists need to go down. Assets taken. Wealth removed. I said this in my live that I did over the weekend. I said when you live in a Class A society, wealth is power. Money is power. That's why they seized all of Trump's assets and debanked him, why he got into crypto. I said all of this during my life. And the reality is that is how the elite get away with so much. Seize it. Stop playing so nice. Stop doing what you're asked. Stop doing what you're told. Do what we're telling you to do, not what they're telling you to do, Trump. Arrest these people. Use your military to do that. Do a military tribunal if you have to get it outside of the Department of Justice so we can actually see some justice. No, we see a criminal, a narco-terrorist from Venezuela, and a bunch of Venezuelans and Hispanic immigrants running around wearing their flags. Not the American flag, not celebrating that it was America that did this. But yay, my people, this goes back to loyalty, and I'll save that for another day. But now, go home. I'm infuriated by this. I'm fed up, and you guys can hear it. And I hope that my train of thought didn't bother you guys. And I know it does seem like it's all over the place. I try to keep it as cohesive as possible. I'm not even following my rundown. I'm so heated. I don't know about you. I just know what I think. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section. Do you agree with Nick Fuentes, this so-called nation building? The U.S. running Venezuela? A good idea or a bad one? Okay, let's go. I don't care if it took 20 years or 3 months to accomplish this. Granted, Trump won. Bush lost. But still, I'm fed up. And I want to know what you think in the comment section. But that is my time. I'm so done. I'm so ready to have a beer because it's been a long day. I literally just hopped in the seat after work. I just wanted to get that episode out because I couldn't hold it in anymore. I couldn't. I had to let that out. If you guys are interested, make sure you download a copy of my book, Becoming Brazen. It has been written long before AI was deployed amongst the citizens. I wrote it myself. It has not been professionally edited or published, so you may find some grammatical errors, but I do think you guys are going to like it. Make sure you're heading over to the Substack. Look out for some new announcements because, as you guys know, I'm building out my own platform, which I hope to bring to you early this year. Lord willing, if God allows, and it will come out in February. But yeah, that is my time. God bless you all. And until next time.